Calling all detectives.
Calling all detectives. Mystery drama from the case book of Jerry Browning.
Jerry Browning, private detective, confidential investigations. Maybe you've seen my ads in the papers. What kind of business do I get from these ads? You'd be surprised. Sometimes even I am surprised. A visitor was a plump, fidgety little man with earnest, owlish eyes. He said,
Mr. Browning, I paid a low character $100 to kill me. I've changed my mind. I want you to tell him so. Nothing more, nothing less.
I said, oh, and tried to make it sound thoughtful. Little man didn't look like a jokester, but you can never be sure. I said, Mr. Frobish, you're sure you didn't, imagine this? Frobish squeaked with indignation.
Imagine? Certainly not. I got the idea from the same situation in a movie. Most engrossing.
I said, and why did you want to die? The answer came in explosive syllables. He, Joseph Frobish, had suffered from the pangs of unrequited love. He contemplated suicide but lacked courage, hence the hired killer, the low character earlier mentioned. But now he discovered the lady did love him after all, and life was sweet again. I looked at the ceiling and tried not to laugh. I said, what is this low character's name? Frobish bit his lip.
I only know his first name, Louis. But you can find him at the Blue Cat Tavern on Front Street. Be sure to tell him he can keep the $100.
The Blue Cat, a fancy name for an old-time saloon. Sawdust on the floors, a bottle of hot pepper sauce in the bar for those who like their beer to command respect, prices written in soap on the bar mirror, and a back room with a sign that said, Ladies, Welcome. I said to the bartender, I'm looking for Louis. He jerked a thumb at the back room, didn't even look up from his glass polishing. Only one table in the back room was occupied. 2 men sat at it. One was a small, dark Latin with fluttery hands and a twitch at the corner of his mouth. The other was a red-haired giant, beetle-browed, yet with the guileless face of a child. Both were sitting in their undershirts and drinking beer from heavy glass mugs. I said, which one of you is Louis? The giant stood up, put a hand on my shoulder, and pressed.
I'm Louis. Sit down.
I sat down. I rubbed my shoulder and said, Louis, you don't know your own strength. Louis grinned, showing stained, broken teeth. He winked at his friend, then closed a huge hand around his beer mug and squeezed.
You bet your life I'm strong, eh, Dominic? Now, mister, who you are and what you want?
I told him my name and broke the news about Frobish having decided to continue living. Louis scratched his thatch and looked puzzled. Then he roared with mirth.
Oh, him! That fella is crazy.
I said, now that we're all agreed, I'll buy a drink. Over our drinks, the bartender said nothing about the smashed beer mug. Louis recalled his meeting with Frobish about 2 weeks ago. Frobish, it seemed, had been walking around Front Street asking for somebody who didn't mind dangerous work. Mrs. Louis, a fine woman, had overheard his inquiries and led Frobish to her spouse. Frobish then outlined his weird request, and at his wife's urgings, Louis had accepted the $100. The money had come in very handy, but as for going through with the bargain...
Me, kill a man? Not even for $200. Unless he make me hungry, eh, Dominic?
Dominic nodded agreement, as he did each time a question was put to him. Now, for the first time, he spoke, and thoughtfully.
This Frobish is very much afraid, no?
I said, don't get any ideas about shaking him down, boys. It would only get you into trouble. The woman who came charging into the back room was a raven-haired beauty and raven-mad. She strode up to Louis and led into him with a stream of what sounded like French, but may have been Spanish. Louis, the giant, hunched up his shoulder and rolled his eyes. After a while, she stopped, narrowed her eyes, leaned over the table, and...
Oh, well, my wife, she loves me. But always she wants me to make the money. That one, she would have me kill this Frobish and get more work like it. Women.
I suppose I should have reported immediately to Frobish, but I decided it wouldn't hurt him to think my job had been harder than it actually was. So that evening, Frobish wouldn't crack the front door more than an inch. I said impatiently, don't worry, Mr. Frobish. It's just me, Jerry Browning. He admitted me, but if I expected him to be happy with my news...
Don't worry, Mr. Frobish, you say. Look, up there.
I looked. A round hole in the wall, another hole in the window, right in line with the hole in the wall. Somebody had fired a gun through the window. Frobish made a thin line in his mouth. He said,
This happened an hour ago. It barely missed me.
I nodded. We were in the living room facing on the street. Behind Frobish was an open door. As I glanced over his shoulder, I caught a swift glimpse of a woman, a flash of dark hair and olive complexion. I said, I'm sorry, Mr. Frobish. I thought everything was settled. It isn't, but it will be. And in the meantime, don't do anything foolish. I drove back to the Blue Cat as fast as I could. But as I got there, the saloon door burst open, and Louis came charging out. I stepped in front of him.
You're a nice guy. I got no quarrel with you. You're just standing in my way.
By the time I picked myself off the sidewalk and shook the fog from my brain, Louis was out of sight. I staggered into the Blue Cat. I said to the bartender,
Where's Dominic?
no answer. I said,
Where's Mrs. Louis?
still no answer. I grabbed at him across the bar, and he took a heavy bung starter out of his apron pocket. He said,
With me, it's a rule. I don't mix in my customers' business. Get out of here.
I found a telephone booth in a drugstore a block away.
Frobish, this is Jerry Browning. Listen to me. Keep your front door locked. Go upstairs. Don't answer the bell. Don't go near a window until I get there. Don't do anything. Do you hear me? Don't do anything.
Frobish lived all the way across town. There was a chance I'd get there ahead of Louis, unless he thought of taking a cab. I was out of my car almost before it stopped, but... there was no use hurrying anymore. The front door was open. I went inside, past the body lying face down just inside the entrance hall. I walked up to Frobish, took the gun from his limp hand. I ignored the woman cowering behind him, Mrs. Louis. I said, Too bad, isn't it, Mr. Frobish? You killed the wrong man. I tried to warn you. I turned over Dominic's body. He was dead, all right. I phoned the police, then sat down to wait for Louis. The police got there first. Louis's idea of speed was to take a trolley car. By that time, we had Frobish's story and could figure out the rest. It was a nice twist. Hire a man to kill you when you really intend to kill him. The trouble was, Louis wouldn't take the deal seriously and didn't show up to be killed as a burglar, though his wife, nice girl, tried her best to persuade him. That's when Frobish hired me in the hope that Louis would try to get more money and be killed as a blackmailer. Except that Dominic was the one who saw the possibilities, while Louis could not be stirred into action until his wife phoned and told him where she was. Dominic got there first and took the bullets intended for Louis. And as for Louis and his wife...
Come on, woman. Now we go home.